Today we're going to talk about Marcello Gandini, supposedly one of the most influential designers in the world. Thanks a lot for tuning in again. This is the DMC Podcast. We also have our good friend Alberto here with us. How are you doing, bro?
Hey Greg, I'm doing fine. What about you?
Bro, I cannot believe that this has been 1 week already. Yeah, here we are again. And this week is really some sad news.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes we're hearing a lot of scams, but this time this is not a scam. One of the greatest designers passed away, Marcello Gandini. I think without him, obviously, but probably Lamborghini would not exist. Or what's your take on this?
He was the most influential designer for not only Lamborghini, but I would say for supercars in general. He was such an influential person, someone who shaped the different eras of car design through history. And I was so sad to hear what happened like this week. I was so shocked to see the news.
Well, rest in peace, Marcello. May God take care of him. Sorry to interrupt you. What was his first car? Was he with Lamborghini from day one, or what's the story with him?
Let's say his most influential design, his first really important design that went into a production car would be the Miura. But before that, he did some works. He started working with Bertone after another designer that I bet you know, Giugiaro, left the company. Giugiaro saw his potential, and I think that's why he didn't want him working for the company. So, right after Giugiaro left, he came into Bertone, and that's where most of his most well-known works started.
Is it Lamborghini outsourced all the design to Bertone, or was Bertone his manager at Lamborghini? Excuse me, most of these names, they're familiar, but maybe you tell us a little bit more details about where this all came from.
So I think you're familiar with Pininfarina, how they used to do all the designs for Ferrari. Let's say Bertone, even though they didn't only make Lamborghini, they were mostly known for the Lamborghini designs, but they also worked for many other companies through their whole history, even Ferrari. But all the first Lamborghinis that we see, because nowadays Lamborghini has different models. Back then they started with the 350 and 400 GT, then the Miura, and then they had the main model, kind of like now, and other cars like the Spada that was complementary for them. But again, they didn't have that many models, so yeah, we could say that all early Lamborghinis were made by them. So at first, Bertone and Lamborghini are kinda synonymous.
Okay, but they were like separate design company, yes?
Yeah, exactly.
Even back then?
Yeah.
Okay, so Gandini worked with Bertone and then designed the cars for, more or less, for Lamborghini. So you mentioned the Miura already. Epic car, even though I'll be frank, it's not one of my favorite cars, but I think there's another car you just mentioned before we came on the call. You said there's another very famous car that Gandini was involved with. Which one was that?
Actually, many cars. The Countach, the Diablo,
The Countach.
Yeah. I think something that
Let's stop directly here for a moment.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Countach. I think for me, I'm from that generation. Sorry, everybody. I had the Countach in Germany. We have like a children room, right? So each children have their own. There's my bed, and then on the wall we put up some posters. I had this white Countach with I don't know. I think it's a red interior. That was the poster on my wall. My friends, they all had some girls, like singers, whatever. I had the cars on my wall. That was really one of my favorite cars when I was young. How about you?
Yeah, I think that was the most sold poster ever, something like that. I'm more of a Diablo kid because I was born in the 90s. So for me it was the Diablo and also the Bugatti EV110, which were both designed by him. Okay, the EV110 wasn't finished by him because you know how Italians are, they got a bit angry at him, like there was some discussion, some arguments. The Bugatti, the EV110, before the...
Yes, the OG.
Yeah, exactly. So at the time, Artioli, who was the owner of Bugatti, didn't like that Gandini's design was too Lamborghini for him. So Gandini did 90% of it. The last 10% was made by the architect that made the factory.
Let me quickly jump in here before we drift away too much from the Countach. let me say or ask something controversial.
Okay.
Okay, a couple of years ago, it was after I started DMC, was one of the first exhibitions, the Top Marks, but not Top Marks Monaco, was Top Marks Macau. I was, I was glad to meet a fellow car manufacturer, coach, builder, designer. Obviously, he's way ahead of me. I have the highest respect for him, Horacio Pagani. And then I'm not sure whether he told me or when he was introduced to me, somebody told me that he was actually the designer of the Countach. Now, what's the story about this? Is it Gandini or Pagani, or was he involved with another Countach?
To make the long story short, the Countach had many evolutions over time. It started in 71, I think it was, with the first prototype, the 5000, and then it spanned for 25 years of production. What Pagani did was the last iteration, the 25th anniversary, which is the one that has all those extra aero parts, the strikes on the vents. He also wanted to do...
The wing without function? You mean this one?
No, that was from before, actually. That was from the LP400. So let's say the anniversario, Italian edition. That was the last iteration that had those almost Ferrari Testarossa kind of stripes on all the intakes.
I asked some friends, hey, did you know like Pagani was like doing the Countach? They go like, no way. What was he involved with Lamborghini? You know, like I'm not sure they're trying to keep it like under the radar or something because he has his own company now. But I mean, awesome guy. Like I was just wondering, and then now we know. So he was doing the last version, right? What was the name of this last Countach?
The 25 anniversario in Italian, which will be the 25th anniversary.
Okay.
Actually, you can see if you go to...
And there was one version...
If you go to the museum, the Pagani Museum, you can see that they have a Countach inside the factory. Because he was so proud of it.
No way.
Yeah.
The Pagani Museum?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
he's not that old. You know, should I have a DMC museum?
I mean, it would be nice.
I'm too young for this, you know.
I mean,
one day for sure. I mean, our brand is getting there. So which one was the Quattro Veloce? Because one of my earliest design was obviously the Multiveloce Aventador, and that's why I was inspired by this name. I saw Quattro Veloce, obviously Lamborghini, they had also the Super Veloce, and I said, well, maybe I'm going to do the Multiveloce, right? But which one was that? The Quattro Veloce QB?
The R.I.P 5000 QB. QB actually means quattro valvole, which is for 4 valves per cylinder. So you have the
Quattro Veloce. So you say, there you go, I was wrong.
You have the QB for quattro valvole, then you have on the Diablo the VT for viscous traction. So viscosa trazione. I don't really know in Italian how they call it. But sometimes the names of Lamborghini, if you don't know what they actually are, Quattro Veloce would be a good name, actually. And I think I'm going to start calling it like that.
I thought. I was in Malaysia, I think in early 2010s sometimes, few years after we started DMC. And Malaysia Lamborghini, they have a couple of really OG nice cars there. So the Malaysia Lamborghini dealer, they had the QV there. It was really an impressive car. I think it was a different color than normal. I think I've seen the white one. White one is quite common. They had like a blue metallic, something like this.
Oh, that's nice.
We're drifting away a little bit away from Gandini too much, but still, I want to mention that. So after Malaysia, I actually went to Indonesia, and shout out to one of my good friends over there, the Lambo Rocker. And then his business back then was actually... And he told me this was a massive thing, right? So I'm an Indonesian guy, but at that time he was living in the United States, in Florida. And he said back in the 80s, and then there was a lot of companies, one was his also, they were copying the Countach, like literally. And again, we're really getting into a different topic here, but I think it all matches together. I have driven the Countach once myself. I can say it's a beautiful design, but really bad, or should I say really simple technical design. So apparently it's really not too difficult to build a Countach. I'm sorry for everybody who might be a little bit disappointed, but the old Lamborghinis, they were like masters of arts, super beautiful. You see, that's where Gandini comes back. But the technology was very, very simple. So he said a lot of companies were literally copying the Countach. Some of them keep the same name. Some of them, obviously, they even have a different name on it. Have you heard something about these replicas?
I mean, I've seen actually, last time I went to an event, they had this Countach replica, which was quite well made. It had I think an Audi V8 inside. But at the end of the
Might
day,
be better than the original.
yeah, maybe for driving. But at the end of the day, I think that if you are buying an 80s Italian sports car, either you go full on and you modify it and you do a resto mod of it, or you have to learn to live with its quirkiness because it's part of the experience, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, even nowadays we have these replicas, right? We ever hear like recently there's a company from Vietnam, some companies from China, I guess, Russians as well. I've seen some people doing replicas. But what he told me, my Indonesian friend from States, he told me it was a different level. The Countach, as you also just mentioned, Alberto, it was there for 20 years. I mean, it's obviously an icon for us nowadays, but think about back then, what an impact this car must have made on the industry. It was massive. And then probably, again, this is just me guessing wild games here, right? Probably Lamborghini couldn't even come up with making it of these cars, and people starting to make a whole industry of it. Yeah, but let's get back to Gandini.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you were mentioning the impact that car made, and I think that's one of Gandini's biggest accomplishments. He was always ahead of his time, and he would change and shape the way supercars were designed in such a short time period that it's almost like if he had looked at the future and known what was coming. Because just remember, I think that the Miura, which was pretty innovative at the time, it was such a new design, such a fresh design. It was, remember, at that time we had the Ferrari 365, the Daytona, as it's usually called, and then Gandini with Lamborghini came with the Miura, which is such a, let's say, sexy car, even if you don't like it that much, I know.
Absolutely.
But it was so different from everything that you've seen until then. But only 1 year later, he showcased the Lamborghini Marcello, I don't know how to pronounce it, which later became the Spada. Some people said I was the first wedge car, kinda, but then again, another year later, so 2 years from the Miura, he showcased the Alfa Romeo 33 Carabo. That is the car that shaped everything. That's the car that changed everything. It's just a concept car. It was made on the basis of Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale, which was, again, a curvaceous, beautiful car. And he said, maybe if we go away from all these curves and just see how we can go in the opposite direction, do something futuristic that's going to stay fresh for decades to go. Just think that.
You really know him well, huh? You're the walking Gandini museum. You know him better than your own dad, I guess. You see, I've seen the Lamborghini movie because I was very disappointed. I'll keep this short. I was very disappointed about the Ferrari movie. So then I've seen the Lamborghini movie. Was he really inside that movie though?
I don't know. I think I watched the movie a long time ago.
I have to go back to check it out.
Yeah.
You know.
I watched it 1 year ago.
Time's nearly up. I'm really sorry. You know, we're always talking. Everything is so happy. We're gonna talk after this phone call again. If you liked it, please leave us a like under this video, and we come back next week Wednesday for the DMC podcast. Thank you so much, Alberto, and thank you so much for everybody tuning in again. See you next week. Bye bye.
That went fast.
Oh, this is too quickly, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think this works. You know, let me quickly turn this off.